Well, it looks like WrestleMania 41 Night 1 has officially been spoiled, okay? If you don't want to know about potential spoilers, because nothing's confirmed, obviously, we don't know who's going to win or what's going to happen yet 100%, because we haven't seen it, you know what I'm saying? However, I will say that there are some very heavy reports that make a ton of sense as to who's going to win the Night 1 main event, and obviously the Night 2 main event, which I talked about a couple weeks ago. That seems like it's already set in stone who's going to win that match. So without further ado, let's get into this, okay? Number one, we obviously have seen recently that Roman Reigns and the Triple Threat has been centered around him and Paul Heyman, you know what I'm saying, and CM Punk and that whole dynamic, which basically leaves like, Seth Rollins really feels like the odd man out in a feud that he started, because this feud and this whole entire Triple Threat is nonsensical mess, you know what I'm saying? So that's basically the situation. However, because Seth feels left out, they're doing this so that, you're distracted. You're too focused on Heyman and Punk and Roman and the Wise Man and all this other stuff, but that distracts you from the fact that Seth is the one kind of like the Joker in this situation, right? He's orchestrating this whole thing and just sitting back laughing, and he's proud of what he's constructing. He looks back at in the segment the other night, right? Seth Rollins is just sitting back and he's just laughing at everything like he's the big orchestrator of all this madness. And that's the kind of Loki-esque role they're going to try and give Seth Rollins here. And because of this, there's heavy rumors actually and reports that CM Punk versus Roman Reigns is actually the plan for this year's SummerSlam. We know SummerSlam has Night 1 and Night 2 now this year, and CM Punk versus Roman Reigns is slated for that PLE, and it looks like it's probably going to main event either Night 1 or Night 2. I personally am absolutely tired of Roman Reigns doing meaningless feuds, and speaking of Roman Reigns, it's also rumored that he's going to be taking another leave of absence after this WrestleMania, like he did last year, how he went away for 4 months. I think this year the rumor is that he's going to be leaving for about 2 or 3 months, and then he'll come back to build for SummerSlam and fight Punk, and then after that we probably won't see him until Survivor Series time. So that's basically the rumors with Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins. It looks like Roman Reigns and Punk are going to probably have so much beef and so much feuding with each other over Paul Heyman that it's going to leave the door open for Seth to beat them up while they're distracted or something, and Seth Rollins will probably be able to get the pin on CM Punk here in this situation, because I don't think he needs to pin Roman. He's going to end up pinning Roman again at some point or losing to Roman again in a 1v1, so you don't need to have him pin Roman here. He'll end up probably pinning Punk so he can finally say, I pinned CM Punk and I beat CM Punk and beat Roman Reigns in the main event of Night 1, which again, Night 1 isn't a real main event, but it's the main event of Night 1, so there you have it, okay? I don't really know how to feel about this. Quite frankly, I'm going to talk about this for like a minute or two real quick. Roman Reigns and CM Punk, I feel like we're walking in quicksand now. Roman Reigns came back and got the Ula Fala. Check. Then the goal was to get the world title back, his championship back from Cody Rhodes, which again, why is Roman Reigns, who had the belt for 4 years, why is he not getting a rematch for his championship? You understand? None of this stuff makes any sense. That's the nonsensical part about it. And then we build this favor up between Heyman and Punk. I have a favor. And then we build up for this for 5 months, and the favor is just that Paul Heyman's in his corner at WrestleMania, just for him to potentially lose and get pinned by Seth Rollins? Really? This is the type of booking that we get. But this is the thing. WWE on their YouTube segments and IG Reels and all that stuff, CM Punk and Roman Reigns do great numbers for them on YouTube and on Instagram and, on social media. And I think because of that, Triple H, for once has made a decision that's actually best for personal business, you know what I'm saying? And because of that, he's actually made the conscious effort, to feature Punk and Roman as the main headliners of this Mania Night 1 and of, bigger PLEs going forward. So he wants this as a concurrent story that keeps stretching throughout the entire year, So I see why they're doing this, quite frankly, from a business perspective, but storyline-wise, this is embarrassing. If you're champ for 4 years and can't get one rematch, well, what does that even mean anymore? Like after Gunther loses his belt to Jey Uso, is Gunther just never going to get a rematch? He just has to wait another year and a half to get another world title shot? It's like, what are we doing here? Roman should have had a world title shot immediately as soon as he came back, because he was Roman. Number one, he's Roman Reigns. No one has more political stroke than Roman Reigns. Plus, he's the fact that he was the champ for 4 years. There should always be a rematch clause when you hold a belt for any amount of time like that. That is ridiculous. So the fact that he was forced into this feud with Punk and Rollins, and it doesn't really make any sense why it's happening, and now it's forced on the Wise Man. The favor was extremely underwhelming, but I predicted the favor 5 months ago. We already knew it was just going to be Punk is going to end up siding with Paul Heyman at some point in the bigger PLEs of this year, 2025. And sure enough, that's exactly what we're getting. So it's just as simple as that. I don't like this whole feud. I don't really care for seeing Punk and Roman at SummerSlam. The promo segments and the build to that SummerSlam match is probably going to be pretty fun and pretty good because they're both really good at what they do. However, okay, that doesn't mean that it makes sense, and that doesn't mean that I want to see it. It's kind of like how Rock and Roman nearly happened at Mania 40 last year, but the fans didn't want to see it like that in those current character dynamic currently, so they had them, the WWE had to pivot. That's how I think this should go. I really hope that it's set in stone. I think Rollins deserves this win. He needs this win. You know what I'm saying? I respect you. I need you. I love you. Seth Rollins at this point, okay, he just gets thrown into random stuff every single Mania season. You ever notice that? WrestleMania 20, he fights Kevin Owens, then he fights Cesaro, then he fights Cody Rhodes returning, and then he fights Logan Paul, and then he's shoved into a tag match night 1, and then he shows up night 2 and gets claymored by Drew McIntyre and loses his world title, because he can't stop thinking about Punk, and that's it. So, I don't know. I find it to be absolutely insane. I think Rollins should finally have a moment where he genuinely pins someone of meaning, in the middle of the ring in a main event level match at WrestleMania. That's what should happen. I think this is deserved. Seth Rollins has earned this opportunity. At least for over the last decade, he hasn't won any meaningful WrestleMania matches besides his Money in the Bank cash-in, realistically. So, I think and he beat Brock Lesnar at Mania 35, so that's that. But other than that, he hasn't really won any meaningful, poignant matches. So, I think it's time for him to do so. Now, let's talk about Night 2. Night 2 has already basically been set in stone. The simple reason it's been set in stone is because John Cena, over the first 4 months of the year, has only shown up like 5 times on Raw or SmackDown. You understand? So, and he's been on 2 PLEs. So that's 7 dates. He's supposed to have 36 dates all year. The reason why 1/3 has already gone down and he only has 7 dates is because in the second and third of the year, what's it called? What am I trying to say? From April to August, and then from August to December, that's where the bulk of John Cena's dates are going to come from, okay? If you have 36 dates and there's 12 months, you should be doing, every third of the year, you should be doing 12 dates. But instead, he's done 7 dates for the first quarter. The reason for the first third, I'm doing all these fractions and math, you know what I'm saying? I'm a mathematician, huh? I respect you. Now, let me stop. The fact is, John Cena is only doing, a 7 dates for the first third of the year, because in the second and third, he's going to be there a lot more. The reason why he's going to be there 3 or 4 times the amount he was before is because he's going to win the championship. That's the reason why they had him not show up for the first parts, and now he's going to be there pretty much semi-consistently throughout the rest of the year, starting after WrestleMania 41 and maybe starting with Backlash. So that's basically the situation with that. I think this is perfect. It's about time that John Cena finally gets his 17th championship, and quite frankly, they need this. Cody Rhodes' championship reign has been atrocious. The merch sales are down overall. The viewership is down. The intrigue and hype is down. John Cena is the driving force of this WrestleMania 41 as a whole. He's the main talking point, and he's the main selling point. And it's his final year in WWE. It's time to give him the belt early. I don't want Cena winning the belt with 2 or 3 months left in the year. He needs to win it now with 8 months left, so we can have a lot of time to tell multiple different stories and actually have a legitimate reign with him as champion. So I'm looking forward to this. I think as far as it goes with the booking, I think booking and business wise, both of these night 1 and night 2 main events, both of these main events, the winner makes sense. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, this actually makes sense if they do this, of course, because nothing's confirmed yet, obviously. But if they do this, which Cena winning is basically all but confirmed at this point, unless Triple H is an idiot, because it genuinely would be no joke here. Off camera and on camera and in storyline, like kayfabe versus non-kayfabe, John Cena makes sense to win in both scenarios. It makes sense behind closed doors with business, and it makes sense to put the best product in front of the fans. John Cena has to win this match. If he doesn't, it's a failure. Right? This just doesn't make any sense. I don't care if Cody turns heel and does a double turn and John Cena has to overcut. No. John Cena needs to win this match clean, and he needs to move on to WrestleMania. It doesn't even matter if he wins clean, quite frankly. He just needs to win the match. Whether it's interference, rock interference, ref bumps, low blows, don't matter. John Cena needs to walk out with that WWE Championship, and Seth Rollins should realistically walk out of Night 1 as the winner, because again, Seth Rollins makes sense to win that match because no one's focused on him. If you're not the guy who's focused on, you can easily sneak up and get done what you need to get done. If you need to curb stomp someone, you curb stomp them. If you need to attack someone, you attack someone. And that way Seth can finish off this feud and finally be done with his hatred for both of these two, Roman and Punk. And then Cena can finally win his 17th World Championship, and officially we can move on with this whole entire Cody Rhodes garbage Championship reign. And then Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns will likely take like a 2 or 3 month hiatus, and then they'll come back maybe in the summer, and that'll basically be that. So from a booking perspective and business perspective, these the night one, night two main events, they do kind of make sense on paper if they go with these exact routes. However, if they deviate from these routes, and like, for example, you know what I mean, Punk has Heyman in his corner, and Roman wins the night one main event just to fight him again in SummerSlam, now we're being stupid. That's basically what it is. And then obviously, if Cody Rhodes, Stardust, beats John Cena in the main event of WrestleMania 41, and with John Cena doing like the biggest heel turn of all time, it makes no sense for Stardust, you know what I'm saying, Cody Rhodes to actually go out there and beat him night 2 in a main event match for John Cena's potential 17th WWE World Championship. It's ridiculous at this point. Make the right decisions, and maybe you can at least make both main events make sense and maybe entertaining. But in all seriousness, the rest of this show is really where the problems lie. Even though I don't like the Roman, Seth, and Punk feud, at least people will tune into it because you have 3 big names. I mean, at least you always have that. You know what I mean? The story's weak, and the build up to it has been pretty weak in my opinion. But at least people will tune into it. And with John Cena, at least he's gonna win. That's really all it comes down to. He clearly needs to win the match. So other than those 2 matches, though, everything else does look like it's absolute garbage. Believe it or not, though, I am minorly excited for Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre. I have to be honest. I'm not excited. Okay, that's a stretch. But I'm curious. I'm interested. Both of those video packages the other night on SmackDown, I thought were actually pretty decently well done. So I'm curious to see what happens with that. And there's maybe 1 or 2 other matches that are going to be interesting or cool. But the large majority of this stuff, I mean, out of the 8 or 7 matches confirmed, 3 of them are absolute garbage, and then 3 of them are like average. That's really all you got. So, here, it is what it is. We'll see what happens in 2 weeks. But right now, those are what some potential spoilers look like for Mania Night 1 and Mania Night 2. Let me know what you think about it in the comment sections below. And as always, have a phenomenal day. Peace out and one love.